Warning! The opinions on this podcast are of the hosts and guests only, and may contain childish humor. Listen at your own discretion. And now, please adjust your headphone volumes to an unreasonable level and prepare to enjoy the most dynamic and electrifying podcast that cyberspace has encountered.
Welcome back to the show! This is episode 58 of Sports Bliss
With Rob
and Chris. I'm pumped up today.
Why are you so pumped up? What's going on?
I think it's because my soreness is gone to my head. Okay, the gym's reopened up, and my trainer basically annihilated my legs. I feel like I got hit with a baseball bat. I'm not even joking. And I think all of the lactic acid in my legs is going to my brain, and it's making me crazy.
That's funny.
Or maybe it's just me on a normal day.
Maybe.
Okay, before we jump into today's episode, I'm going to do something that we haven't done in, it seems like a little bit. Beer shout out. Yes. What are you drinking?
I'm
Haze.
drinking an Elysian Contact Haze.
Yeah.
I've had it before. It's really good.
It looks pretty.
Yeah.
It
it's
looks
nice.
like an Orange Crush, right? The soda.
It kind of does. And you can see the guy's brain here. It's open.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what's
yeah.
happening to me right now. And I'm keeping it real because I'm trying to get my summer body back into gear. And I'm keeping it with a White Claw. Sorry, Bard, you know you're always my number one. This was actually closest to me, so.
Yeah, it's nice and refreshing, right?
It's nice and good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we are going to be talking about today is we have some sports news, and Rob has got some topics within there
Yeah, it's kind of college themed.
that I don't really know about. He kind of wants to get my reaction.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So I'm going to start off with a big one first. Okay.
With a bang.
With a bang. University of Kentucky cheerleading got in a lot of trouble this week.
Oh?
Yeah. So if you know anything about cheerleading,
Yeah.
you know Kentucky is the Alabama of cheerleading. They have won 24 of the last 35 years championships.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So that's the reason this is such big news. Well, apparently, the coach has gotten in a lot of trouble.
Okay, so what happened?
They've been doing they had these allegations, and they've been investigating them. And the allegations were hazing, alcohol use, and public nudity.
Isn't that always? Like in any fraternity or
Yeah, but this is the cheerleading team.
they're the worst ones.
That's the reason I wanted to talk to you about it. So those of you
The
out
only
there,
reason I say this because I used to cheer. So
exactly, that's the reason I
I
wanted
know.
to talk to you about it. So 4 coaches and an administrator have basically been accused of this. That the teams would go on these retreats and things would happen on the retreats. So like apparently they were doing basket tosses
Sure.
where they were either fully nude or partially nude, and they were throwing them into the lake off the dock.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, but not so appropriate, right?
I
If you're a
mean-
mom and dad of this cheerleader.
Which she just had her top off, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think these are camps where they're making money. Like they're like
Okay.
have high school kids there
She should
also.
have at least had something on.
Yeah, well, I think they were topless, it sounds like, for some of
Probably.
it. Okay, but they were also making them do stunts and chants partially nude. And they were
Wait,
like
who
lewd
was?
chants.
Who was?
The team were making everybody do it.
Like people within the team were like, hey, let's do this?
Yes. But it was like coaches were there and people were there and they didn't stop it.
Okay, so the coaches
Yeah.
basically are...
Turned a blind eye.
Yeah, they were like, whatever.
And so they were doing all this kind of stuff and they got in trouble. And I guess one of the kids complained to their parents. And so that's how this all started.
Did they feel like they were forced to do it?
Yeah, they were forced to do it. It was like hazing. They were made to do this stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And it wasn't clear from the articles that I read, but it sounds like some of them were like not necessarily even the college students. That
Who
they
were
were
they?
because they have these, they have like these cheerleading camps right?
Yes.
To teach like the high school kids and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of ties into the story in a minute, and I'll get to it because a couple of things raised a red flag on me, or like questions, you know? But the big thing about this, they said they didn't find any sexual assault or misconduct or anything like this. So it was basically just them being nude and like
Were they
doing
intoxicated?
chants and all this. That was the other big one, is multiple cheerleaders had to be taken to the hospital for alcohol poisoning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For like excessive drinking.
Wow.
And so they would make them do shots and do certain things. And this, you know how the games go in college, right?
If you know, like a typical cheerleader in college is like 5'0", 90 to 100 pounds.
Right, exactly.
So if you're making them chug shots left and right and
gonna
then
die.
chuck them up in the air, that's like calling for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not even having a good time. That's like way beyond having a good time.
That's a recipe for disaster for sure, right?
Absolutely.
So this is the other kind of weird thing about it, because you did cheerleading, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so you know that the NCAA does not overlook cheerleading in college, right? It's the NCAA or the UCA, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's usually NCAA. I mean, I didn't cheer in college, so
yeah. So this is not. But even in college, like in Kentucky and all this sort of stuff, UCF, wherever, they are not overseen by the NCAA.
yeah, it's usually the NCAA.
Yeah, the NCAA
Right.
or the UCA, whichever one. But it's usually the NCAA,
It's the
right?
NCAA was the
Yeah,
most
they're the
popular.
ones that sanction it and all. So they're the ones that are getting in trouble with this. And so basically the university has fired a bunch of the coaches and all. But the second thing that kind of like made me think is like, why do they have to have 5-6 coaches for cheerleading, and how are they paying for all this, right?
Right.
Well, apparently it's very, very big money, cheerleading, of course, right? Which you could probably attest to. I don't know if you went to any of these cheer type of camps or anything.
Yeah. No, I did.
Right?
Yeah.
So apparently Kentucky, they run these cheer camps all year long, and they'll do them on the weekends for 3 or 4 days or whatever. And it's like $300 a person.
Right. No,
Right?
they're very expensive. Yeah.
And then you have to pay on top of that. You have to pay for your room and board and meals and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So they make a lot of money for the school.
oh, yeah.
And they pay all these coaches and everyone. And apparently, this is where the other part they got into trouble is the coaches had all these businesses on the side, and they were paying the cheerleaders through those businesses. And that's how they think they always get the best cheerleaders, because they've won 24 of 35 of the 35 last championships.
Okay, so they're paying, like, basically their... Yeah, there's
Yeah, they give them fake jobs and
They're-
stuff,
yeah,
for example.
exactly.
I don't know that that's true. That's allegedly.
but saying
but-
like, hey,
yeah.
come cheer for us and you can be, quote unquote, you can work for me.
Right, and this is before name, image, likeness. But they're not under the NCAA, so I'm like, does it really matter? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I'm sure there's got to be something that's similar.
Yeah, I would think so. But so I thought that was an interesting story.
That's crazy.
What do you think?
That's crazy.
I mean, did you ever see anything like that?
No.
In your wild cheerleading days?
No, I was more of a gymnast.
You were a tumbler, huh?
No, gymnast.
Gymnast. Okay, so this is the other thing that made me think about this. So they've won so many championships, right?
Okay.
So I said, let me just look. I want to see who else has won championships, right? Because if they won all these, who else has won them recently? And I went back all the way to 2001. So from 2020 to 2001, guess how many teams, including Kentucky, have won championships during that time?
I don't know. What, 10 maybe? Are there any repeats? I'm sure there's some repeats.
There are repeats.
I know UCF won.
So only 4 schools have won in the last 20 years.
Wow.
Okay.
I know UCF for sure.
Kentucky won 6 of them. 6 out of the 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Who do you think is number 2 out of all this?
Alabama?
Close. Alabama.
Or UF?
Alabama won 2. They won in 2015 and 2011. North Carolina State won 1. University of North Texas tied with Kentucky in 2002. And UCF won 3.
Okay, yeah.
They won
I know,
in 2003, 7, and 2020.
I knew UCF won a couple.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because
So-
that was like the team you wanted to go cheer for.
Oh, yeah. Apparently.
Even though the football team was not good.
No, totally. They've been very good for a very long time.
Yeah.
And they charge a lot for camps, too. They make a lot of money, too.
I'm sure.
But apparently they haven't been caught throwing naked people off the docks.
Yet.
Yet.
Just kidding.
Oh, just kidding. We love you all, people. So I thought that was a pretty interesting story. Okay, so this is kind of another kind of business, kind of money numbers type of thing. The NCAA just announced that they're allowing schools are open to have voluntary workouts again starting June 1st.
Okay.
Did you see this?
No, I did not. That's good news, though.
Yeah, it's very good news. And, all the schools are kind of happy about it, I think. But the interesting thing about it is they said they're only allowing 3 sports to start June 1st with their, voluntary workouts.
Okay.
So, of course, it's going to be football.
Of course.
Right?
Because they have to prepare for...
Yeah, but,
the fall.
everybody says it only takes about 6 weeks. That's what Urban Meyer was saying and a bunch of other coaches.
So they could start later, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they could, but they're going to allow them to start type of workouts June 1st so they can do meetings and all that kind of stuff and whatever they want to do, right?
Okay.
Men's basketball.
Sure.
Okay. And women's basketball. Those are the 3 sports.
Okay.
But there are 2 sports that start before football even, and they haven't allowed them. Men's soccer and volleyball.
Oh, okay.
And so those coaches are asking, why aren't we allowed to?
Irrelevant.
Because it doesn't make any money.
I hate to say
They
it.
pick the 3 sports that make money.
I don't want to say that it's irrelevant, but it's irrelevant to their pocketbook.
100%. 100%. And remember who makes up the NCAA, even though the commissioner is saying that they can go out and do these workouts. Who really controls the NCAA? The athletic directors and the presidents of the universities.
Right.
Right? So they're saying we need this money, right? So at the same time, this article came out, I think it was MSNBC News, and they were saying that this economist, he estimates that if football did not play this year, college football, $4 billion would be lost in revenue to the schools. And out of
I believe it, though.
Yeah. And out of that, they said 1.2 billion of it would be ticket sales.
Right.
So that was one question I was asking you is, so if they can't have fans in the stands, do you think anybody really wants to play football?
Probably not.
Because I was thinking about this earlier today. I know.
What's the point of playing football if you don't have if you don't have fans in the stands?
Well, a lot of people on the surface, they look at it and say, you're going to get the TV money, right? So they look at the Big Ten and they look at the SEC. They make like $50-something million a school.
Right.
So they're like, okay, let's at least get it on TV so we get the TV money, right?
Right.
But I was looking, UF's budget or the revenue that they make per year is about $150 million a year, okay, for all their sports. Of course, most of that is revenue from football, right?
Right.
Okay. They get about $50 million from TV, so they've got to make up almost another $100 million somewhere, right? So where does that come from? A little bit more is TV for basketball and the different sports and all, but the majority of it is ticket sales, right?
Right.
So I was just thinking, I know the numbers for UCF is roughly, they make about $4 million a home game. That's the reason UCF is so staunch about they want to do home and home games, and they don't want to do these 2-for-1s like with UF and all this kind of stuff. It's all financial, right?
Whatever.
So they need that money for their budget. And that's the same reason UF wants to play 7 home games.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we're entitled to.
Everybody's entitled to.
We are entitled to.
And so I was just thinking, well, if UCF makes $4 million a year, right? And their stadium's, 45,000? UF's is around 80,000. And their tickets are more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So they're probably going to be making $8 to $10 million a game.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So multiply that out by 7, you're looking at $70 million.
Yeah.
Basically.
Just in tickets alone.
Just in revenue from game day.
Yeah.
Right? So they want people in the stands just as much as UCF does.
Yeah.
Just as much as the small schools.
Well, I'm just thinking, okay, maybe from like a player standpoint, take the ticket sales and all that stuff out of it. Would you feel as pumped and motivated to win if you don't have anybody cheering for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's totally different.
I'm not trying to say that you wouldn't be motivated to win, but like that plays a huge
Oh, yeah. You feed off
role.
the crowd. They always say it.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm sure these players are going to be like, well, whatever. If we lose, we lose. I mean, what is the big deal?
Yeah. They're just not going to have that extra energy or whatever. You get to a different gear, right?
Yeah.
And so, Yeah, there were some NFL players talking about that. They were like, yeah, if we don't play with fans in the stand, it's going to be super weird. They're like, we'll do it, but, we want that home crowd to give us an advantage. And he goes, but if we were on the road, I don't want anybody there.
Yeah.
So he's like,
yeah,
it's a
exactly.
double-edged sword, Another piece of college news came out, too.
Okay, what is it?
The title of the article was SEC leads Power 5 in spending when lobbying Congress legislation on paying players. So basically, it came out that the 5 power conferences have spent $350,000 this year on lobbyists in Congress.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the SEC has led the way with $140,000. What this means is that they're paying... A lobbyist is someone that goes to Congress and they try to get people to sway the votes of the Congress people, right? So they get in their ear and they tell them, oh, this is what my client wants and this, that, and the other. And they make backroom deals and all this kind of stuff. It's really dirty, And every industry does it. Hospitals, whatever, healthcare, whatever it may be, they all do it. So the reason they're paying these lobbyists is because they want to affect the name, image, likeness bill that comes out. Because they want it to be a national bill, so everybody is held to the same standard.
Right.
But it's interesting because there's a breakdown by conference. And the Big Ten, they spent the least. They only spent $20,000 total. The SEC spent $140,000. The SEC spent it on 3 different lobbyist firms. So they spent it on a Democratic one, a Republican one, and then they didn't say the third one. Okay?
Huh.
Because they want to affect both sides of that aisle, right?
Sure.
Okay, so the Pac-12, they spent $70,000, and they used it on 2 firms. They all used one firm together, all the Power 5.
Okay.
So they spent half of it on that firm and half on their own. Okay, the Big 12 only spent $20,000 on the Power 5, and the ACC and Big 12 spent $60,000, $20,000 on the Power 5, and $40,000 on their own firm. That's the first part of it. Okay.
Okay.
This is what they said in this. Greg Sankey, he's the head of the SEC. I believe it was Greg Sankey. He said this is kind of what they want in the bill. They said they want there to be a requirement for 1 term of academic progress before an athlete can sign an endorsement deal. That was the first part of it. Second part was they want a ban on athlete deals inconsistent with higher education and limits on who can advise athletes on third-party contracts, basically, to prevent unscrupulous activity. So what is that? What does all that say to you? What does it mean to you? I know, you're overwhelmed. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Where do I begin? I have no idea.
So they want to control the athletes. They're saying, oh, yeah, you can go out and make money and do whatever you want, but only what we want you to make money on.
Okay, so then... That doesn't make any sense.
Well, number one, they said you have to have at least 1 semester under your belt before you make money, right?
Okay.
So that's easy for football because a lot of these guys enroll in January the year before, and they're already there on campus and that, so they can start making money in the fall.
Is this for all sports?
All sports, yeah.
Okay.
And so
I think it's going to affect more basketball, right?
Yeah, well, that's what they said. There was this article about Kentucky with the one and dones. Well, how does that affect them? Well, if they start school in summer, does that count or not?
Wasn't it? It's like Zion, basically.
Yeah.
Wasn't he like a one and done?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if that rule applied...
He was like a 3/4 and done.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because he dropped out after... I don't know if he dropped out, but he stopped right after March Madness.
Oh, yeah. Most of them do. Yeah, so they're like, how will that affect the one and done? Can they not get paid until the second semester? And then if you're not academically eligible, you're not going to be able to get money, which I think is fair. If you're not taking care of your grades, how can you get money? Right?
Right.
But it's like this kind of sketchiness of like...
I don't know.
They're going to control, because I've heard people talk about this before. They're going to control who they can advertise with because they're not going to let you go out and advertise for White Claw.
No.
They're not going to allow you to go out and be like a vape representative, or anything that they say is inconsistent with higher education. That's a very blanket term of them.
Yeah.
So then that says you can't sign with Adidas if we're a Nike school.
Right.
If you read between the lines.
So basically you have to go to them to get it approved, right?
Yeah, you have to, yeah. There are going to be whole departments in the athletic department to handle this now.
This is insane.
Okay, we'll use an
This has
example.
gone way too far.
We'll use an example with UCF, right? Where do we sit? We sit in
In the cabana.
in the Carl Black Chevrolet Cabana, right? It's sponsored by them.
Sure.
Do you think they're going to want one of the star players to
Not drive a Chevy?
to advertise for Ford,
No way.
for the Ford dealership?
Get out of here.
Yeah, you think Carl Black's going to be happy? He's paying a lot of money to have his name all over the stadium.
Right.
So this is going to get real messy, and it's not going to
It already
be.
has gotten messy.
Yeah.
Listen, no offense, but the players are getting a little too big for their britches, and they can't be content with just staying in college.
Yeah,
and you
but-
know what? You become famous. Fine, become famous, but ride it till you get to the NFL or to the NBA. That's when you're going to make the big bucks. You can't
Yeah.
expect to make big bucks in college. Like, this is crazy to me.
No, I agree with you, and that's what Harbaugh said from Michigan. He said, "Listen, we can eliminate all this. If a kid wants to go pro, let them go pro.
Yeah.
If they're a freshman, let them go pro. If they're in high school, if the NFL decides they want them, let them go pro. But if they don't get drafted, allow them to come back to school."
Right.
Don't punish them like the NBA does when guys turn pro and they don't get drafted. Now they can't go back to school.
Right.
In the NFL, you definitely cannot do that. Once you decide to turn pro, that's it.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done. You have a date you can withdraw by, but if it goes through the draft and you're not drafted, you're done.
Yeah.
And why should someone have to wait until after their junior year? That's an NFL rule, not an NCAA rule.
Yeah.
And so I kind of agree with Harbaugh on that. When I first heard it, I was like, I don't know. But, you're there to get an education. You're there to play football. If you want to make real money, then go be a pro.
Exactly.
That's what every other king college does.
That's exactly how I think.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's how every other king college does, right?
Yeah.
I mean, why do you get your degree? If you could make a job making six figures without getting a degree, you probably would.
Yeah.
The
problem is the college kids have become this generation has become very entitled.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And they think that they deserve $1 million without having to work for it. But newsflash, you got to work for it.
Yeah. It's the same thing going on with Dak right now.
Dude, Dak don't care. He's sitting on the couch happy.
No, it's
with
getting
his $35 million.
It's getting heated. No, it's getting heated. They could still withdraw the franchise tag from him.
Really?
And he could be sitting on the couch in the fall because it's leaked now that they've offered a contract to him that averages $35 million over 5 years, all guaranteed. It's $175 million guaranteed.
Baby.
The whole thing.
That's crazy.
And the last year will be $45 million.
So what, he doesn't want to take it?
He wants $45 million a year. He wants more. He wants more than that.
Yeah, but he's going to get bit.
He's gonna get bit.
When you become too greedy
Yeah.
and you try to bite off more than you can chew,
Yeah.
it's going to come right back and bite him in the butt.
Colin Cowherd had this same exact take. He was like, and I agree with him 100%. He was a big Dak guy before, and I wasn't. I was like, I wouldn't even pay the guy $30 million, to be honest.
Way.
I don't like him.
No
But
way.
You can pay Andy Dalton $8 million and not make the playoffs, or make the playoffs and be out. With Dallas, Dallas is a good team.
Yeah.
They could have signed Jameis for $1 million and then been just as good as Dak. He can throw the ball better than Dak.
Yeah, true.
I mean, come on. And
I hate to say
I know
that,
you
but
don't
it's
like
kinda
him, but
true.
it's kind of true. You're saving $29 million. You know how many more players you can get on the team that are good?
Well, you have to think of the bigger picture.
Right. When they are going to be so locked down if they sign him into this kind of contract that they'll turn into the Packers that aren't any good anymore because they paid Aaron Rodgers so much money.
Exactly.
Into the Seahawks that they can't afford an offensive line to protect Russell Wilson. And, listen, I want Russell Wilson to get his money because I like him. I think he's a great player.
Yeah.
But at some point, you've got to be more like Drew Brees and Tom Brady and think, listen, I'm going to play for the next 10, 15
Well,
years.
you just take a step back and say, listen, I'll take this if it can go towards getting
Yeah.
other substantial players to where we actually have a chance to win.
Exactly.
That's being a team player.
Or I'm not getting killed because I don't have an offensive line.
Exactly.
Like Russell Wilson. Now he's stuck, but I mean, I understand them wanting to get paid, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, but at what point do you draw the line?
Yeah, so as an owner, where do you draw the line with
Because
Dak?
now, so Dak is getting real greedy and he's asking for more money, and the owner is going to get at some point he's going to be like, no, we're done.
I mean, I think we talked about this on a previous podcast. I said, listen, I'd let him sit at home and just draft another guy next year and play with Andy Dalton this year.
Yeah.
He's a proven starter in the NFL. He's not great, but
we'll see how
he's solid.
does. You can see how he does, and then
and
it could be contingent upon how he plays.
Yeah.
You could re-sign him. I don't know.
Well, you could re-sign him if you want, but you can also draft another guy next year. Who cares? I mean, and start over with a $400,000 quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't have to be crazy about this because Dallas is an excellent team otherwise.
Well, I think how does it say? The cookie will crumble or the cards will fall where they will fall.
That's it, I think. Yeah. I like that one. Yeah.
It's trivia time. Sports edition. This is a hard one. Get your thinking caps on. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What Chicago Bears running back was known as the Galloping Ghost?
Gale Sayer.
Do you want me to read the...
Oh, you can give me the choices.
Okay. Gal Sayers.
I got it.
Jim Brown. Harold Grange. Or Walter Payton.
Payton. No, it wasn't him. Oh, now you got me worried.
Oh, now I done messed you all up now.
I'm still going to go with the first one.
What is that?
Gale Sayers.
Wrong.
Was it Granger?
It is Harold Grange.
Yeah, that was the other one I thought.
Grange, is that right?
It's something like that. He's one of these old guys. He was real old.
Wow.
You got me on that one. Go on, baby.
I'm going to have to put that on the books that you got that one wrong. Wow.
Bucket boys.
Buck 'em, boys. Okay, let's wrap it up with a Would You Rather.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting one because I kind of went back and forth on what I would do.
Okay.
A couple times. Okay. Would you rather have all traffic lights you approach be green or never have to stand in line again?
Never have to stay in line again.
I think I came down with that one too because I don't really mind so much the green lights only if I'm like in a hurry and I'm running late, obviously, because you're like bound to hit every red light when you're not on time.
Yeah. I don't mind so much though. I like sitting in my car, listening to the radio.
But nowadays, I don't really go anywhere, so like it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, but to stand in line? I mean, think about it. When we would go to Universal, you wouldn't have to stand in line anymore.
That's what I was thinking. That would be like the most, like the times that like, or like if you just need to go to the grocery store at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
And Meemaw's writing a check and counting her pennies.
And then drops them all on the floor.
Yeah.
And you're like, son of a...
I know. It's terrible, right?
Okay, guys, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye!
Thank you for listening to Sports Bliss with Rob and Chris. Available on Anchor.fm, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and everywhere else fine podcasts are found. Follow us on Instagram and leave voice comments at 407-494-6420. This has been a Sports Bliss with Rob and Chris production.